Regarding some of our supplemental materials to accompany the meeting tonight, CSC members received a copy of the agenda packet last week, and I'll be displaying those materials on my screen. But if you do need access to the agenda packet electronically, please visit the AB 617 website for this community. And I'm happy to share the link in the chat to support access to it. We'll do that now. Let me know if that's accessible, if there are any issues with that, and we're happy to share that information again. And so members of the public may join this meeting on Zoom, or they can view the live stream in English on the Facebook page of Harder & Company. And it's also being streamed, or it will be streamed in Spanish as soon as we get all the logistics for the interpretation ironed out on the page of the County Air District. So with that said, I'm happy to address something that Jessica has shared in the chat, which is our attendance. So just to ensure that we're noting your attendance at today's meeting, we have an online sign-in sheet available. This sign-in sheet is for CSC members, and our team on the back end is tracking who's present. But if you'd also like to notate or confirm your attendance, please see the link that Jessica has shared in the chat to access that form. Again, if there's any issues accessing any of the links that we share, please feel free to let us know in the chat, and we'll be sure to get that up and running for you all. Lastly, we just want to go over some engagement now that we're online again, and just what, just kind of some guidelines around that. So we do recognize that this may be the first virtual CSC meeting for our newer CSC members, and just all of us back in this space overall. And so we wanted to take a moment to review some guidelines for virtual engagement. Please note that you may share written comments via Facebook or down in the Zoom chat below. And we will be monitoring these items and reading them aloud in the order that they come in. Verbal comments can be made in a couple areas. So the first, it could be made during agenda item number 2, during the public comment period, and after presentations during allotted Q&A time. We also want to ensure that those who are speaking have the floor. So we encourage only one person speaking at a time and remaining muted until your name is called. And lastly, just to ensure that there's sufficient time for questions and comments, we kindly request that all comments and questions remain at 2 minutes max. Lastly, as we engage in our agenda today, we want to continue the practice of stating your name before speaking. This will ensure smooth communication, accurate notes, and support those who are watching the interpreted meetings as we get that going. So we just really appreciate your help in stating your name before speaking. Additionally, we want to ensure that we as facilitators are doing our best to create a safe and open space for you all to share your thoughts, your ideas, and experiences. And we recognize that these meetings provide the opportunity for that authentic engagement. And as such, we follow the Brown Act to support that process. And at the same time, we do recognize that this may feel formal, and in some ways may feel like it's minimizing engagement, but our ultimate goal is to allow a space for open discussion, transparency, and to hold everyone accountable. As such, we'd like to welcome you all to share openly, ask questions, seek clarification during presentations and discussions. And lastly, please note that if there are any agenda items that you'd like to table for another time, that option is available as well. CSC members can share which items and vote to bring those back at a later time. So with that said, and prior to we move to the public comment, there's a few procedural items to support that discussion. So now that we've covered some of those logistics, I'd like to walk us through these procedures. So CSC members may enter their comments into the chat. Members of the public may submit their public comments at any point during the meeting in the comment section of the Facebook live feed or in the comments in the Zoom chat. We will be monitoring your comments and questions throughout the meeting. For those members of the public that have joined us via Zoom, you may have an opportunity to comment during the public comment period, which is agenda item number 2. And if members of the general public would like to speak during the public comment period or after presentations, click the raise your hand feature on Zoom, or if you've joined by phone, feel free to press *9 to raise your hand. And similar to what was shared before during the public comment period, just to ensure that there is enough time for all the questions or any comments, again, we just want to encourage you to keep your comments to around 2 minutes max. If we have more public members than the time we've allotted for public comment, we will use the allotted time and finish the public comment item at the end of the meeting. If you would like to make additional comments, please feel free to enter those into the chat to be entered into the record. So all of that is a lot of information. Thank you all for bearing with me as I covered these logistics and as we're troubleshooting all of these challenges that we're experiencing, but they're really set up with the intention of a smooth meeting. And so with that, I just wanted to see if there were any questions about our housekeeping items. I don't see any hands raised and I don't see anything in the chat. All right. If anything comes up, feel free to let us know in the chat if there are any questions or any other technical challenges that we can support with. And hi, Jess.
I just wanted to update you that the option for interpretation has not come up, and I double checked to make sure that it was on, but it's still not coming up.
Thank you for that update, Jessica. I think we can pause for a moment to see how we can best troubleshoot this, because interpretation is really key to ensure access to this information.
Maddie, sorry to interrupt you. Can you get a raise of hands to see who needs interpretation? I know
Yes.
I see we feel like a Kelly number, so I just want to see who they are. I'm not sure who they are.
Yes, absolutely. So can you please raise your hand if you need translation? Por favor, levanta la mano si necesita interpretación.
Sí, perdón, si hay alguien que hable español exclusivamente y que no sea bilingüe y que necesita del servicio de interpretación simultánea, si fuera tan amable de levantar la mano para que sepamos quién es o cuántas personas nos acompañan que requieran del uso de interpretación simultánea.
Gracias, Luisa. I see we have one who is calling in.
Is there any way we could get Luisa to get with that one person?
I think one option to explore is a breakout room with Luisa and this person.
Can you check who has their hand up? I think Michael Moore has his hand up and he's part of our
Yes,
CSC.
yes, Michael, I see that your hand is raised.
Michael, go ahead. Okay, next, sure, we have to get the meeting moving.
We don't have quorum.
We don't have one.
Okay, this is all good to know. Air District.
Also, do we know if any of the calling numbers is one of the CSC members?
I'm working on it. I'm doing
Okay.
like a lot of things in the background. So I'm trying to like get as much as I can done. Just give me 1 second, Marco, please.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jessica, for all the troubleshooting you're doing in the background. So Air District, I wanted to just see, it sounds like we don't have quorum, and I wanted to see if there was any recommendations on your end that we can discuss with respect to the meeting.
Since we don't have quorum, we won't do the approval of minutes, but anything else is just a presentation, so we could move forward. We don't have no action items.
Okay, that sounds good. Alrighty. So we're gonna just continue to move forward. And then,
Maddie, one more, I'm trying to, actually, the chair of the meeting is either Luis Olmedo or Christian Flores. Are they on the line? I see Christian.
yes, Christian's
Yes.
online. Mhm.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, no, we're just gonna move forward with the meeting, and I was letting them know that you're the chair of the meeting.
Yeah, and regarding the quorum issue, if we do get that one member, I think we can revisit the approval of the minutes because it's the only action item on today's agenda.
Correct.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you, Christian. So we'll come back to the approval of the meeting minutes and continue. Does that sound accurate?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and do that. Thank you all for your patience. So we'll finish our public comment framing for you all. And so I think where we left off was for those who are joining by phone, feel free to dial *9 if you'd like to make a public comment. And with that, we're happy to open it up to anybody who would like to make a public comment.
Maddie, you do have a hand and you have two hands in the attendees.
Yes, I will go ahead and I don't think I have the permission to.
I unmuted the 5-2 number, 526.
Okay. Hi, whoever's joining from number 526, please go ahead.
This is Ray Haskins.
Welcome. Welcome, Ray. Do you have a comment, a public comment to share?
Well, I'd rather wait until you get into the meeting because I do have comments and I don't want to come across negative. But, you know, like for the monitors or sensors, most are not working. The one I have here in Mexicali is working. The one at MIT, I think that is not working. The two main monitors are not working here in Mexicali. So I don't see how. Go ahead.
Hi, Ray, this is Belen. It was very nice to hear from you once again. But just as a reminder, we're doing the 15 monitors in the corridor, which is El Centro, Heber, and Calexico. I think we could retouch the monitors in Mexicali in our task force meeting in the next 3 weeks. Just to let you know.
Well, I appreciate that because, you know, good information is very helpful to know what the air quality is. I don't have to sit there and preach to you guys, but I you know, it frustrates you to see that the equipment is out there but not being used.
Yeah, I understand.
You know me, when I get frustrated, watch out. And,
oh yeah, we definitely know you.
I'm
We're also
thankful
glad
for
to
that.
hear from you. So I
Thank
think we'll
you.
retouch this back in the air quality task force meetings on September 7th. Because those have to do with the
Okay.
Mexicali monitors, and we'll have a good update for that.
Okay, great. The other point I think I want to say, again, I'd rather wait till you go through the meeting and then I may add my comments, okay?
Thank you, Ray.
Yes,
All
thank you, Ray, for your comment. Appreciate it. I also see another hand from one of our phone numbers that is joining.
I believe that's Mary.
Mary.
Salazar.
Welcome, Mary. Do you have a comment? Mary, also feel free to dial *9 and unmute yourself if you'd like to share a public comment at this time. Okay, I saw your hand go down. So thank you so much. And let us know if there's anything else you think. Alrighty. With that said, just wanted to see if there was any other comments.
Hey, Maddie and Jessica, if we could, rename the phone numbers to the member or public participating, that way we know who we're addressing.
Thanks, Christian. Definitely can. We'll get that going as soon as possible. Alrighty, so I'm happy to open it up to our co-chairs to share any remarks.
Yeah, I'd like to welcome everybody. It seems we should have quorum now, with Mary being identified from the audience. So it's great. I know transitioning back into Zoom is not what engages more after we've been doing in person for a majority of the year. But I'm glad everybody's here. I know he's not here, but I'd still like from the CSC to wish happy birthday to John Hernandez, a longstanding CSC member who's away because of that today. So, you know, he's celebrating, but we're here still doing the work, and that's what we want to keep doing. We want to make sure that folks know that today you'll see a couple of presentations, but there is a key item that we want to take a lot of time for today after discussions at CCD and the district, which is discussions from the CSC members. We want to know how to engage you more, how you can be more involved in the program, and also give us your priorities as we move forward. There are things coming that we had outlined before, such as the SERPs updates that are going to happen. But in the meantime, we want to hear from you guys as CSC members and from the public as well for considerations that should be taken for future agenda items, presentations that we would have to be on the lookout for, things like that, so that for future meetings, it's an agenda co-built with the CSC members as we used to do with our Jam board exercise before, right? And I'll pass it on to Belen.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. And once again, we apologize for the technical difficulties. I know the difficulty sometimes takes away from the public comments and the CSC comments, so we truly apologize, but I'm glad you are here. We have a quorum, such as Kristen mentioned, and let's move on with the agenda.
Thank you both for your opening remarks. I am actually going to pause and double check our quorum. We have 7 or 6.
We have 13 members total. Quorum is 7, and we only have 6 members present, I believe.
So I think if we can just have another quick count on our end, we'll do another count. And then if Air District or Christian, if you can also do another double check and we can be totally sure.
I see with Mary, I see 6 out of the 11 voting members.
Mary is
So
still
that's
under attendees, so maybe
Yeah.
she'll move her over.
We can't move the phone numbers over.
No, it's Mary. Mary. She's
I
under Mary.
renamed her,
Okay.
but she's still on the phone.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, and we can't move her. And on our roster that we use to get quorum, we still have 13 voting members. I'm not sure if that changed.
No, it has not changed since the last time. Is there any way we get Mary to vote a yes or a no verbally? Because that will make us with the 7 members.
I'm still counting only 6. So I
Only
have
6?
Tomas, Michael,
Okay,
Mary.
let's move on. Let's move on, and we'll leave the approval of the minutes to the next meeting. We have to move on the agenda.
Sounds
Okay.
good. Mary, I see that you're unmuted.
Yes. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can
Okay.
hear you, Mary. Yes.
All right, so I just wanted to make sure that I let you know that I'm having issues with trying to get into on the computer end. I have 2 laptops and I can't seem to get in. I think I'm blocked out. So if you needed me to vote on something or just say that we're on the agenda or anything like that.
Thanks for letting us know, Mary. Yes, I think one option you can do is just to verbally share if we do have any votes coming up. But yeah, apologies about the troubles that you're having accessing the meeting. We're going to review some stuff and make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay.
again. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Okie dokie. So we're going to move on and move on to our next item. So we have our approval of the minutes. Just want to confirm that that is something we're going to come back to.
Yeah, it'll be brought back if we have another CSC member join us for quorum, and so that we can take an official vote. In the meantime, we'll move on to item 4, which is the presentation Friday.
Perfect. Thank you, Christian. So we'll go ahead and move along. We have a couple of people who are joining us. I'm just going to move through our meeting minutes as we come back to those. So next we will hear from the Imperial County Department of Public Works, and they will be providing a presentation on the paving project that was approved by the CSC members. For those that are joining us, we encourage you all to know any questions, any comments, any areas for clarification, as there will be time for Q&A after the presentation. Please feel free to raise your hand after the presentation is done, or use the Zoom chat feature with any questions that you have. So with that said, I'm happy to pass it off to the ICDPW team for their presentation. Welcome.
Maddie, it seems that the presentation was updated by Veronica Tondo, so she's going to share her screen.
Perfect. Thank you for letting me know, Belen. Veronica, I will give you permission. Just one moment.
Actually, it's gonna be Nick. Nick is the one sharing the screen. So thank you, Belen, for bringing that up. The situation. Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to thank everyone for this opportunity. I'm Veronica Tondo. I work for the Public Works Department, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Engineering Division. We prepared it's like 2 years ago. I'm sorry, no, 1 year. In 2022, we received the award for the Heber Townside improvements for various roads, using the funds from the for the community emission reduction program. And we're very, very pleased to provide this update. We're very happy that, you know, we were given this opportunity to use these funds to reduce the just like air pollution that is caused for, you know, some of the fugitive dust and other emissions that we have in unpaved roads in the community of Heber. In addition to that, we have a lot of other benefits that this will provide, including safety and accessibility. So it's like our project, just like this is a big project because it's the largest project that county has ever had to construct any sidewalks in the county. It's like the total amount that we are anticipating is about 7 million. So this is pretty ambitious, but we're very pleased that, you know, to present the milestones that we so far have completed and what is coming ahead. Our consultant, Nick Olonsky, I'm sorry, Nick, with Kimley Horn, has prepared a brief presentation with an overview of the project and the major milestones. And we will be sharing that with you. It's very brief. Feel free, if you have any questions, to let us know at the end. We definitely are going to be available, you know, it's like at the end of the presentation, we hopefully can, you know, take or respond to your questions and provide you some, and, you know, the information that may be needed from you. So with that, I'll pass this to Nick, so he hopefully can share the screen and can start. Thank you, Nick.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I believe I'm sharing my screen. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Nick Oleskowitz. I'm consultant with Kimley Horn and Associates. We are retained by the county to do the design and implementation of the Heber Town Site Improvements Project. And like Veronica said, I'll kind of zoom out a little bit and then dive into a little bit more of where we're at in the process. But feel free to have any questions at the end of the presentation. Let's see. So the project location is on the El Centro, Heber, and Calexico corridor. It's right in the town of Heber, south of SR 86, in between Fawcett Road and SR 86. I'll go to a little bit more zoomed in map here and go through the project benefits. So you'll see this is zoomed in right in the center of this graphic is Heber Elementary School. And so north is to the left, Fawcett Road is on the right, and Heber Road or SR 86 is on the left. In the cyan color, this is all of the areas where we are improving. And so as Veronica mentioned, the purpose of the project is for dust and particulate matter mitigation. And so the existing conditions of the neighborhood do not have paved shoulders or curb and gutter sidewalk. And so this project will be introducing that additional asphalt pavement, PCC sidewalk, curb and gutter, and curb ramps. And so as you can see on the screen, it's quite a bit of the township here. Heffernan Avenue, Parkins Avenue, 9th Street, 10th Street, 11th, 14th, and Fawcett. We're tying into existing improvements on Heber Avenue as well as on SR 86. There are additional benefits, not just the dust mitigation, as Veronica mentioned, benefits for the community for mobility and access. So right now, as there are no sidewalks in the community, community members with disabilities or using wheelchairs, it's very hard for them to navigate the existing conditions. And so here is a photo of the existing conditions. This is looking north on Parkins Avenue. And you can see the existing roadway width. This is just passable for cars, no parking or additional facilities. There is dirt shoulders and then vehicles park in the dirt, as well as you can see a trash can here. The trash pickup collection service also occurs in the shoulder in the dirt area. So there's a lot of dust that gets kicked up in this process. And on the right side, this is our proposed condition. So you can see the completion of the full road, a 40-foot width, so two 12-foot travel lanes going north and south, and then an 8-foot parallel parking lane, curb and gutter, sidewalk, and then connection to all of the existing driveways and properties out there. In this graphic is flipped from the last one. So Fawcett is on the left and SR 86 is on the right. So north is to the right. It might be hard to see on your computer screens, but really just a general overview of the improvements we are included in this project. You can see all the driveway tie-ins, the additional curb ramps, curb and gutter and cross gutters, as well as some of the additional pavement improvements. And then from a project milestone, from our project milestones, what we've completed so far includes the topographic survey of the area, the existing utility investigation, which includes utility potholing, identifying the size and depths of the existing utilities, a drainage study, including existing conditions analysis and a proposed analysis, an aerially deposited lead survey or ADL survey, which is testing of the soil for aerially deposited lead. And this is lead from when gas included lead. And so fortunately for this project, no lead was discovered, so there won't be any additional measures taken during construction. And then we've completed our 30%, 75%, and 95% construction submittals, construction document submittals, and we're working towards our final plans. We've also completed a Caltrans encroachment permit. There are no improvements within Caltrans right-of-way, but we do have traffic control devices that will be in Caltrans right-of-way. Therefore, the need for an encroachment permit was there. So what we're working on right now, we have our final plans and specifications in prep for public bid next week. We also have included, as we're moving forward, the stormwater pollution prevention plan, or SWIP. And this is to allow for the contractor to hopefully move through the project construction a little bit more expedited. And so this last slide is just an overview, kind of piece by piece of where we're at in the process of the project. In blue, our design phase, that's our current phase right now. And as I mentioned, we're going to be moving into the public bid period next week, hopefully on the 15th. And then grayed out in the future is our start of construction, which hopefully will occur towards the end of the year, potentially December or in January 2024. And then we're expecting construction to wrap up sometime in the summer and most likely in June of 2024. And with that, I can flip to any other slides if you guys have questions specific to those, but I really appreciate your time and thank you for the opportunity for presenting this project to you guys.
Thank you, Nick. I also would like to add that it's like our department is also working hard in getting another application, hopefully to extend these benefits to the north side of the Heber site. And we're gonna be submitting very soon on Friday actually, our application for hopefully what would be the next phase for this, which will have huge benefits for the community of Heber and all the people that goes through it, because it's like at this point, it's like the air pollution, it's like we're on the same basin, so it really helps to every little bit helps. So we're very enthusiastic about this project. Please let us know if you have any questions. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you so much, Nick and Veronica, for sharing. And yes, you both beat me to it. It is now open for any questions from our CSC members.
This is Belen. Just to expand a little bit from Veronica and Nick, and for CSC members and everybody that's online. This project was previously approved under the 8617 CSC. So our members, or steering committee members, approved this project. It's a $4.1 million project with 8617 money. We're really proud of it because even being a smaller community, it was awarded this much money. The improvements, the walkway improvements are near Heber School. All around, they don't have any sidewalks. Kids during rain time, they walk in the mud or in the street, which is very dangerous. And as Veronica and Nick mentioned, I mean, it's also PM10, a particulate matter reduction when they're not. So we're really proud of this. And they're also, Public Works is submitting another application through the 8617 process to extend to other areas. So thank you for this update, and hopefully we'll get to see the finalized project soon.
That's what we hope. We're really looking forward to begin construction, and so people can actually start, having some of the benefits as soon as this, we start constructing the sidewalks, and it's like, this is very exciting for us. Like the Public Works Department has been working in various sidewalk projects around the area, but usually it's very expensive. So we're very pleased that this project will have we'll be able to cover so many of the remaining and it was like streets that don't have the sidewalk or shoulder paved. So we hope we can serve the people with this, and we're just like, as you said, and I'm sorry because I was meant to go through the numbers, and at the end I think that I didn't. But yes, and just like the county it was like our public works department is providing some of the funding, and the grant is for 4.893 for 4,893,000. So it's pretty amazing what we're gonna be able to, what we receive, and we're very enthusiastic about this. This is the largest project we in the county have ever done for sidewalks, and it's like we're engineers, we like to construct things, but when you see the communities transform as they do when you build the sidewalks, and the streets is a little bit more urban, and as you said, the accessibility for kids to the school, the safety that is involved, being able to use the handicap ramps, things like that, of that matter, it's I think the highest of the milestones that they get us very enthusiastic about this, and we're very happy with this. Hopefully the drainage is a challenge in the area. It's like Nick is like, and his team have been working for a long time with the projects. Just so you have an idea, he has like the improvement plans, which are the long, the big plans. We have 68 pages of those, and we're ready to advertise on Tuesday. So it's a huge project that we're very happy to present, and I'm thanking you, to the committee and to the public, and to all the people participating on this. We're looking forward to construct this, and I'm sorry for the noise. Some people still in the office, so sorry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Veronica. I appreciate that. And thank you, Belen, for offering context as well. I did see a couple of hands that were raised, and I wanted to address those as well. But the hands have since gone down, so I just want to check if those questions are still there. Virginia, I saw your hand come up first.
Hi, yes, this is Virginia. I wanted to just, it was more so, it wasn't a question, it was more a comment. Just wanted to make sure that I express my appreciation for the investment that's being done in the community of Heber, since it's such a lot of the comments were already addressed, I think, between Belen and Veronica right now. There is a huge need, and I think that this type of project really has a very immediate impact to the quality of life of the residents, especially a lot of the students that are using these dirt shoulders without sidewalks. So just wanted to commend the group and the team for much deserved project. So thank you.
Thank you, Virginia.
Yes, thank you, Virginia. I also saw Mary's hand was raised. Mary, did you have a question or a comment?
Do you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I just wanted to ask you to run by me on the procedures that allocate these monies for each, property that the improvement goes to, say, Calexico, Heber. How does the process start? Because I know we spoke about it, but could you run by me how the qualifications come in? Is there a list of applicants that I guess your office sees fit that would be receiving the monies, or are they just on a waiting list as each one applies per date? Say, for example, somebody applies in January and then gets the funding. How does the procedure work?
Okay, hi, Mary, this is Belen. It's through a request for proposals. I don't know if you recall, we did a survey with all the CEC members to see what type of projects were important in their area. And after that survey, we got the top 2 or 3, I believe, which is the paving projects, the urban greening projects, and also the school filtration projects. So we did request for proposals and we did it out of applicants. Once we closed the deadline for the applicants, internally we do emission reduction ranking, if you want to say. And we bring it back to the committee in order and explain the projects that we received. And the CEC members voted on the projects. So based on the information that we recommended, based on the emission reductions that were done through the process, the CEC members were the ones who chose what type of projects were going to be approved. So it wasn't based on APCD, it was more of the steering committee that approved these projects.
Well, I think maybe the question, I wanted to be a little more clear. When is this, how does the businesses know about these funds that are available? Is it something you send to every business? Do they just have to know about it when they apply for these funds? How is it that it gets to the public for them to be aware of the fundings that the SB 617 is helping with?
Yeah, besides social media, it was posted on the IV Press. I think in the Calexico, the IV Press, social media. Also the CEC members, that's one of the ways they could help us to spread the word. And we also had workshops that allowed us to provide this information. So directly that we went to every business, no, we did not go directly. It was just done out of the methods that I just mentioned.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for the information.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mary, for your question. Do we have any other questions from our CSC members? I'm not seeing anything coming up in our chat. I'm not seeing any more hands that are raised. So I do see that we have a hand raised in our attendees that I'd like to also address. It's from phone number 526. Would you like to share a question or a comment?
Maddie, maybe let them know how to unmute.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you, Christian. So if you're joining by phone, please be sure to unmute yourself. This would be the way that you can do that. Is just, you can let us know by hitting *9. If you would like to say something, you can let us know. But please, if you're joining by phone, please be sure to unmute yourself so that way we can hear what questions or comments you have. Additionally, that feature can lower your hand. So if there's no longer a question, please feel free to lower your hand as well. And okay, so what I think we can do is we can reach out to this person on chat and take our next question. Mary, I see that your hand is raised. Please feel free to.
Oh, it is? I thought I had taken it down.
Oh, I think it just popped up, but it just went back down. I see that. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, if we just for whoever's keeping track of the Zoom option, I think Mary shows up twice as a call-in and as somebody that joined on Zoom.
Okay.
Thank you, Christian, for noting that. I see that as well. Great. So if there are no more questions from our CSC members,
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello? Hi, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to, this is Thomas Brinkerhoff, by the way, Compliance Division Manager with Air District. Hopefully y'all can hear me just fine. I just wanted to thank Veronica and her associate Nick on this presentation of this wonderful project for Heber. I just want to kind of introduce myself to Veronica and Nick. I know, Veronica, you've been in touch with Chris Pancarte as we're trying to see how we can leverage our efforts in having the potential to put no idling signs where these sidewalk improvements will be done in Heber for commercial vehicles in this area. And we look forward to continued discussions, Veronica, with you and your staff on making this a reality, making this a small component of this project. So again, I just wanted to put that out there. And I think it would be helpful too at any time after this meeting, if you can send us the updated presentation, that'd be most appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, and that was mentioned by Thomas, just in case Veronica and Nick need to log off after the presentation. Again, we thank you, Veronica and Nick.
Thank you very much. And yes, no problem. I'll email the presentation to Israel or to Belém or
To Israel or Thomas is fine. Israel or
Okay.
Marco.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for everything. And I really enjoyed, doing the presentation and hopefully we have many projects like this. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, appreciate it.
thank you so much, Nick and Veronica. And thanks for sharing that update on the Heber Town Site Improvements Project. So really appreciate that. So at this time, I'd like to transition us to the discussion. I see that the Air District has shared their screen. So this is the section where we have our discussion and information items that include SERP strategies, updates on reduced idling, and updates on the Air District policies 18 and 19. Before we begin this agenda item, we want to ensure that the knowledge and the context behind the Community Emissions Reduction Plan, or SERP, is shared, especially in recognition of our newest CSC members. So SERP is a hallmark of AB 617 with goals to reduce carbon emissions with input and decision-making from the CSC, who represent the community's interests. We acknowledge that these policies can be technical because they provide strategies on the regulation of carbon emissions. And so the goal for these agenda items is for the CSC to listen in on these updates and ask questions for clarification and provide your input. And as a reminder, the CSC voted on the SERP. So with that said, I'm happy to pass it to the Air District for their presentation.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chris Pancarte. I'm an air pollution control specialist. I'm part of the staff here at APCD. This is my first CSC meeting that I attend. So I'm excited to be here and be able to present and share with the CSC members and the public work that our staff is doing. And this project is a project that myself and my manager, Thomas Brinkerhoff, we've been working on with CARB staff. We've been having frequent meetings with Warren and with Linda and other staff members at CARB to talk about this initiative that the initial CSC members voted on implementing in our corridor. So the SERP strategy that we'll be talking about, one of the targets and strategies was to implement signage within Calexico-Heber-El Centro to reduce the idling activity. And if you have the SERP, the SERP says that under the strategy, APCD will solicit the input from the school districts, care facilities, medical centers to encourage vehicles not to idle near sensitive receptors and improve air quality in that region. In this workshop, the APCD staff was to talk about the health impacts that diesel vehicles exhaust have to the public, the communities, explain communities that have similar initiatives such as this, propose language for the signs, and explain the cost to complete this project. So just recently, last month, Thomas and myself held a workshop for the school districts in the corridor, all 6 school districts. And we talked to them about this idea and explained to them that diesel emissions continue to be an issue within this corridor, and idling is prevalent. The CSC members discussed how idling occurs at the border in Calexico, but it's an issue that really exists throughout Imperial County and throughout California. I know last CSC meeting you had a presentation from Sandag and ICTC staff members who were discussing how they're improving the flow of cargo and improving the logistics so that trucks are not idling and trucks are flowing. So this initiative here goes hand in hand with what the other agencies are working on to reduce diesel emission impacts. The backbone of this whole project is California Code 2480 and 2485. I won't go into detail about the law that can be enforced in California, but in summary, the law prohibits school buses, heavy duty vehicles from idling for more than 5 minutes within near a sensitive receptor, such as a school, a house, or a church, or that type of facility. So this presentation, we're just going to give you snippets of the project. It's not the whole scope of what we're working on. I just wanted to give the CSC members a glimpse of what we're doing. You just had a presentation from Public Works on the pavement project that they're working on in Heber. And we've been having some conversations with John Gay at Public Works and some of the staff members to see if we can include no idling signs in that cement installation that they're doing along Heffernan Avenue, Heber Avenue, Fawcett Road. If you can see the screen, there's some examples of locations that our staff identified where we can install no idling signs to remind bus drivers as well as semi-truck drivers that idling does impact the population, specifically Heber Elementary, but also the residential area. So here in front of you is the Heber Improvement Project that they just presented. And we identified six sites in that area where we see a potential fit to install the signs. And so we're going to work with them and have discussions with Public Works to see how their staff can implement it. And on the bottom right of the screen, there's a picture there of a no idling sign that's installed at San Diego. And it references the California Code. And it just a reminder to the semi and bus drivers not to idle. Thanks. One of the conversations we also had with Public Works, most of you CSC members are well aware of Heber and our community, and a lot of our community, we have truck drivers who, many who are truck drivers for a living, and there's locations within Heber where at the end of the workday, they'll park their truck near their home and park the car there overnight. And we found a few areas where we see truck parking within Heber, and we brought this to Public Works attention, and we're discussing a pilot project where we place these signs at these parking areas to just, again, remind the truck drivers that live in that area that if you're using the truck, it's to board and to drive away, and it's not to idle in that one location. So our hope is with all this is just to educate and remind truck drivers that the diesel emissions from their vehicle is impacting the community. And right now it's early phases. We're at the very beginning, but we just wanted to show what we're working on in Heber. With Calexico and with El Centro, it's going to take a lot of work with each Public Works at each city, and those have its own obstacles. But we are coming along and in the early phases on installing these signs through the corridor. And similarly, so a separate part of this project, like I mentioned at the beginning, we had a workshop with the school districts along the corridor. We have 6 school districts, and we had really good conversations with a lot of the transportation and maintenance directors that work at each of the school districts. And in the workshop, what we really wanted to focus on was that the school bus drivers that are loading and unloading, the students should be reducing their engine idling time. The youth and the young community is the most susceptible to the hazards of diesel emissions. So we wanted to focus on that portion of it. And we had really good buy-in from the transportation managers. They all want to implement a sign throughout their campuses. On that PowerPoint slide there, you can see all the schools that each maintenance manager presented that they want to install the signs. The signs for this project are a little bit different. Instead of referencing the California code, these signs state no idling, children are breathing, as you can see. So these are more reminder. It's not a enforcement. And it's also a reminder to the parents that are onboarding and loading their kids to not run their diesel vehicle if they don't need to. And obviously we live in a community that's very hot, and we understand that sometimes the vehicle needs to be operated. But what we're doing here is just trying to, again, educate, remind parents and the community not to idle. It's like, I just wanted to show the CSC members that the AB 617 community, one of the communities in San Diego at the port side throughout Barrio Logan, they've implemented this sign project. They've had really good success. At that AB 617 community, they only had to work with one school district. And this is just an example of one of the high schools, Lincoln High School. They placed the sign at a kitchen entrance, and that's, to remind the delivery drivers not to idle near the kitchen area. And another example is Kimbrough Elementary. They have the sign there installed at the staff parking lot, and that's also where they receive deliveries, reminding those driving by, do not idle, children are breathing. So those are a couple of examples of San Diego, and they've used these signs on about 12 campuses. And the staff, we've spoken with the staff, enforcement staff, and it's been very successful. And parents, teachers have commented that they notice it, and it has changed their behavior. So next slide. And just very briefly, so here's an example. We worked really well with El Centro Elementary, the transportation supervisor. He provided us his proposed locations for all his schools within his district. This example is Sunflower Elementary, and Mr. Zamora proposed installing a sign at the parent loading zone in front of the main office, at another student loading zone, the main one along Lotus Avenue. And then he also wanted a sign at the delivery for the kitchen and cafeteria. So a total of 3 signs. And we also have told each school district that if they would like a Spanish sign, if they think that it would come across to the parents and the drivers, that they also have an option to install a Spanish sign. So, and last example here, this one was provided by Mr. Barajas, who's the transportation supervisor for Central Union High School. Mr. Barajas went above and beyond and actually found 10 to 12 areas where he sees idling occurring. And we found through this exercise and conversations with these school districts that high schools have a lot more idling activity from all the events that they host, out of county travel, visitors, sports. And so we're looking at how many signs we can provide the school districts to install. And we're getting a lot of good conversations and feedback. But ultimately, the goal is that we'll get a final sign count from each school district on what they can install with their manpower. And APCD will provide the schools with these signs. And next slide. And so, yeah, to wrap this all up, the final steps, our staff here, myself, Thomas, and the AB 617 staff, will be finalizing agreements with 6 school districts that identify the exact sign locations and the count that each school receives. Once we've got that finalized, we're going to work with a local sign vendor. Public Works has a sign vendor that they bid and what's what I'm looking for, that they award their signs for. So we're going to work with them, get a quote on the cost to obtain these signs. We're looking at upwards of 100 signs at a minimum if we're looking at all the schools in the corridor. So we'll be working on that this fall, the bidding process. Once the signs have been created, which doesn't take very long, we're hoping that the APCD staff, we can deliver the signs this winter. But December, January is a optimistic goal to deliver the signs. And then we're hopeful that by January, February, early next year, the school districts can all have them installed. And the goal here is that hopefully we can come back to the CSC community, the members, and present to you in early next year and show you photos and show you the signs in action and see if the signs, did change the behavior and make an improvement on the idling activity that happens at our schools. So that's just kind of a snippet of our idling sign project. There's a lot more that we're working on behind the scenes, but we're hopeful that this will improve air quality along the corridor. And again, this was a CSC initiative that was voted on as a strategy to reduce emissions. And that's all I have. If any of the CSC members have any questions for myself or Thomas, we're happy to answer any questions. And yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to present to you on what we're working on here at APCD.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Thomas, for your presentation today. And yes, we're happy to take questions from our CSC members. Daniela, I see you have your hand raised. The floor is yours.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for the presentation. I think it's a great strategy, and it's great to see the plans for implementation coming soon. I'm just very curious about how, because signage I think is generally an approach that could be used also in other contexts, and just kind of wanted to share how much it costs to do something like this. And I recognize it's 3 cities, and then potentially we're looking at the other committee in the north and might implement similar strategies. So just kind of for context, curious about how much something like this costs for these 3 cities in the corridor, or 3 areas.
I'll take that. Nice to hear from you, Daniela. This is Thomas Brinkerhoff. So yeah, we are in the process right now of, as Chris highlighted in the presentation, of determining what the sign count is going to be. And then our next step will be taking that to, I believe it's Acme, to get a quote, so we know what we're looking at in terms of costs. The nice thing that we're building out with the project, at least as it pertains to the school districts, is that the cost will be that we're looking at will be for basically creating the signs. So once we get the quote, we'll be going through our normal channels, which will be more than likely to gain approval from their district board, which is the board of supervisors. And once we have that, and leading up to that, setting up any agreements we need with ACME or any MOUs or whatnot, getting the signs created. And then with those signs, we would be then looking to have those signs taken, delivered to our contacts at each school district for them and their staff to then take the responsibility of installing the signs. So again, the main expense will be for the sign creation. And so once we have that in place and we'll be going to the board for approval, we'll have an idea of what those costs will be. But from my understanding, by the amount of signs we're looking at too, we should be getting some savings since this will be quite a big of a bulk order since there's so many schools in play.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your response, Thomas, and thank you, Daniela, for your question. Are there any other questions from the CSC members?
Hey, Maddie, I just want to ask 2 quick questions. One is, did any of the schools or school districts not want the idling sign campaign? And the other one is what additional materials are provided? And just, you know, for context, there was an idling campaign done by students at Desert Mirage High School up in the Eastern Coachella Valley a couple of years ago. But that was not through South Coast, it was actually through a grant that was given to a couple of student groups. And when they did a research component, which was looking at emissions of vehicles idling in their school or in front of their school. And then they did signage, and then they did, you know, like an awareness campaign for parents and other drivers near their school. So I'm wondering if there's anything else provided to the school districts and the schools as well.
I'll take that too. Thank you so much for that question, Christian. So yeah, we've been having discussions here as a component of this project would be to create flyers, which would be targeted to different audiences, different players here that interact with the school districts, like a flyer that could be given to the school district officials to then be given to the students so that they can share that with their parents and family, since one of the biggest contributors would be non-commercial vehicles, basically passenger vehicles, the vehicles of either the high school students themselves or their parents, their guardians, and also creating a flyer that can be targeted towards education and reducing idling activities for commercial truckers that drop off materials at the school sites. And then finally, a flyer that can be distributed to the bus drivers, school bus drivers too, because there are certain requirements that are in the regulation for idling. There are some allowances, of course, for certain types of school buses. But again, a lot of what we're trying to do here with the school districts is to raise awareness so that even if there isn't a direct enforcement tool for passenger vehicles for the idling regulation, bringing awareness that idling activities do contribute to increasing emissions, tailpipe emissions, diesel emissions and whatnot. And that does have a real effect, a negative effect on the surrounding population, including students and the children. So there's definitely going to be something we're going to be looking at, putting those flyers together and working with our counterparts, with our contacts at the school districts so that that information can be disseminated. And then the other question, thank you, Chris. Every school district that we approach and the school sites that basically, I believe all the schools that were listed on that slide were all on board to participate and receive signs. So it was great. All across the board, everybody was very much interested in making this a reality.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. And that's great to hear that the schools are very accepting. I know we launched one of the strategies, which is the school air filtration program that was supplemented by a SEP. So it's great to hear that there's a lot of follow-up through the 607 program with schools, where I think a lot of this education is very welcome.
Thank you, Christian, for your question. Are there any other questions that are coming up for our CSC members? I'm not seeing any other hands raised, and I don't see any questions coming through our chat. So I'm happy to open it up to others. I see that Ray, you have your hand raised. Go for it, Ray. Ray, I'm not sure if you're speaking at the moment. I see you're unmuted, but we can't hear you. Right, yeah, I'm not sure if you're speaking up at the moment. I'm not hearing anything on my end. I just want to offer a friendly reminder that we do have the chat feature. So if there are any audio issues, please feel free to also utilize the chat, and we'll be sure to read your question or comment out loud. Okay, so what I think, and was there other thoughts or comments?
No, I was
I
just
just
gonna say,
wanna-
Maddie, that I think we're okay to move on to the next item. Ray is on the phone, and I don't think he has the chat option either.
Gotcha. Okay, sounds good, Belen. Thank you. Alrighty. So if anything else comes up, feel free to let us know, and we'll work through that as well. So happy to move us along, and I'll reshare my screen. And we'll move us along to the Imperial County updates on the air policies for number 18 and 19.
Good evening, everyone. This is Thomas Brinkerhoff again, Compliance Division Manager with the APCD. Thank you to the newer committee members. It's been a while since I've been here to go over some of the policies that we have here at the district that have been updated and revised. This has been an exercise we've been working on over the past 2 to 2.5 years as it pertains to the initiative that the Air District has in place with the California Air Resources Board in updating and modernizing some of our policies for enforcement and for permitting activities here in our district. And I'm happy to present newer draft versions that we have of policies 18 and 19 and provide a quick overview. And at the end, I'll be happy to take any questions. And keep in mind too, like we've done for the other policies, we will be opening this up for a 15-day review period for the committee members to provide any feedback, any comments, either giving us calls or better yet, submit them by email to us. And we will take those comments into consideration as we work towards finalizing these policies. So with that, we'll go ahead and go to next slide. Wonderful, thank you. So policy 18, this is a policy for the notice of violation issuance and follow-up. This policy is for mainly for our inspectors and for other staff in our enforcement division. The purpose of this policy is to provide specific guidelines dealing with the issuance and the follow-up for follow-up activities for notices of violation, which are issued by our staff to emission violators, whether they're permitted or not in our jurisdiction. Detecting, documenting, and reporting violations are important duties of inspectors. And like I said, our quality control specialists that we usually have here on hand, which Chris Frank-Archer fills that role right now, and other designated enforcement division staff. Through these actions, they implement the enforcement division's main function, which is to provide uniform compliance of federal, state, and local air pollution control laws. And that's key. What we want to have is a level playing field and uniformity amongst our compliance program. The notice of violation is an official notification that a violation has occurred, which could result in a penalty. The inspector must never use the notice of violation as a written warning. It is intended to result in a penalty for the violator. Under no circumstances may they tell the violators that the notice of violation, which we also commonly refer to as NOVs, for those who may know, will be dismissed or canceled upon proof of compliance. So the next section right there says conditions necessary for issuing a notice of violation. We have some criteria here. NOVs are issued when inspector or the government enforcement officials, examples can be EPA officials, fire department personnel, can confirm the following exist. 1, an act or omission of an act is observed or documented that results in a violation of the state air law, district rule, or health and safety code, permit conditions, federal law, and so on. 2, the responsible person or persons are identified. 3, the location or address is identified. And 4, the equipment or source of emissions is identified. If an emission violation is observed, a specific type of air contaminant should be identified. Next, some situations that demand a notice of violation. As an example, 1 common occurrence where we do issue violations is that a notice to comply has been issued to a violator or potential violator, and the source is not in compliance by the designated dates. So the deadline has hit. You'll go to the next page, please. Another situation, equipment is operated contrary to specific operating conditions from the permit to operate issued by our agency or specific requirements under state and federal law. 3, a violation is observed during or confirmed by a source test or an inspection. A source test is when we test the emissions unit or control system to determine what the emissions are from its exhaust point, its endpoint, to verify compliance with its permitted limits. 4, a breakdown has been reported and the inspector determines that a violation resulted from operator error or neglect. 5, a violation of a variance condition or abatement of order has occurred. 6, a violation of District Rule 701 agricultural burning or District Rule 421 open burning. So basically, there's a burning violation that has occurred. 7, a violation of District Rule 201 permits required would and or any district rule under regulation for prohibitions. 201 for permits required will basically be that we find an unpermitted emissions device out in the field, and therefore, if it's required to have a permit, we would be issuing a notice of violation. So here are the notice of violation procedures in the next section. Serving the notice of violation NOV. The NOV can be served in the field, mailed, or delivered in person at a later time, usually within 30 days of completing the NOV report, so that staff here completes the report, their findings, and then we issue out the notice of violation. When serving the NOV, the inspector will give a copy to the person served and explain the violation. The inspector will issue the NOV to the highest ranking person available at the site. And we have some criteria here. In the corporation, serve it to a corporate officer, such as a president or a vice president. In a partnership, serve to one of the partners. 3, in a company owned by an individual, serve the owner, preferably. And then 4, if none of the above is available and a responsible manager or supervisor can be identified, serve the manager or the supervisor. 5, if responsible individuals cannot be identified or not available, send a copy of the violation by certified mail, return receipt to an appropriate company official. And we do that from time to time, as we have here in our policy. Our violations can be issued in person at a later date when we've completed our investigation. And quite frequently, we do mail them out to the mailing address that we have on file in our database. The inspector should inform the facility operators that compliance is required. The inspector must advise the source the following options for compliance. 1, to immediately comply. 2, to cease operation. And this is not a demand, but only a suggested option. 3, apply it for variance if it's applicable. There are certain scenarios and cases that a variance cannot be sought depending on the type of violation. Next page. 4, submit an application for an authority to construct and a permit to operate for the new or modified equipment. And 5, which plays into interlocks with 4, submit an application for amending your authority to construct permit. The inspector should inform the facility operators that continued violations may result in daily penalties and or the issuance of additional notices of violations and OVs that carry increased penalties. And then finally, section B in this policy, compliance verification. Before an NOV can be resolved through district's mutual settlement program, a determination of the source's compliance status must be first documented as a part of the settlement process. So this can be done with one or more of the following options. 1, an on-site re-inspection of the facility to confirm that the affected equipment is now operating in compliance. 2, to review and verify previously missing logs, records, reports, and related documentation that's required pursuant to a permit to operate or district rule. 3, the results of a source test conducted by a source contractor, or the results of a lab analysis provided by the source. 5, file an application for variance that is later granted. 6, verification through an on-site inspection that the source has ceased operation or has closed down. Or 7, determination that the source's application for a new or amended authority to construct has been submitted to the district. So again, it just depends on the case here and what the root problem was for issuing the violation. And then we follow along here with what methods we use to verify. So that is the end of the first policy 18. I can pause here briefly to see if there's any questions before I move on to policy 19.
We're checking to see if there are any questions. We also have time allotted afterwards. If questions are still formulating.
Wonderful.
So yeah,
Okay.
we have questions at the end. Thank you.
All right, so I'll go ahead and continue. So policy 19, which goes hand in hand with 18, is the notice of violation reports. And for this, this policy provides direction and to staff to put together what components need to be in place to successfully prosecute the violator. And that pertains to the violation reports. It's the foundation for investigators, county counsel, and district attorney to pursue a case. Since the report may be entered as evidence, the inspector must provide accurate and complete information in clear and legible form. So next section, report due date. Inspectors must complete the notice of violation report to their supervisor for review within 10 working days following the date of the notice of violation was issued. Any exception requires the approval of the compliance division manager. The notice of violation report and notice of violation must be given to the compliance division manager for approval. Next section is field notes. To ensure that the NOV report includes all pertinent information relevant to the NOV, inspector will take field notes during the inspection, conduct interviews, and carry out a full site investigation. Field notes are an important tool for keeping the sequence of events of the inspection, especially in lengthy investigations that may last several days or weeks. The field notes may be essential in recalling the facts of the inspection months or years later if the case goes to court. The field notes are not equivalent to a notice of violation report. However, it is one of the tools to be used by inspectors to document the inspection. I'll go ahead and hop over to the next section. This is the notice of violation report requirements. The NOV report consists of, we can go back to the, sorry, page 2. Yeah, I'm right there now. The NOV report consists of the following information items: supporting information, a field sketch or map of the violating source location, and a narrative account of the conditions and events. Most of the required information items are self-explanatory, but here are the following guidelines under section A, completing information items. So under the NOV report, you'll have the permit, enter the permit number if it is a permitted source, attaching a copy of the permit to the notice of violation, the name of the source, into the legal name of the violator, and to not use initials except when the legal name is in the initials. Source type, into the type of source as it's labeled on under the authority to construct or permit to operate. Some examples are, it could be a combustion source, an aggregate source, or power plants, etc. The notice of violation number, the contact information, so a telephone number where the violator or a corporate office can be contacted. The address, into the street address, city and zip code of the main office. And if there's a corporation, into the address of the corporate office. And we will try to avoid using PO box numbers unless that is what the address we have on our permitted database. The location of the violation is vital, also to include in the NOV report. And the violation itself, describing the violation, which would be either a district rule or a requirement of the health and safety code section that was broken. Enter the date of violation and sort of description of the equipment and the rule violated. Go ahead and go to that next page. The date, entering the date and the time of the notice violation, of which it was served to the violator, is served by mail, insert the mail certified mail date, and then issued to, insert the name of the owner or superintendent or the responsible official who's being issued to. Section B, the supporting information. The following information may be part of the narrative at NOV report and attached to it. One would be the weather, indicate in 1 word or 2 word description of the weather and the estimate of the wind direction and speed during the violation. 2 would be the visual emissions at the observation, indicate whether emissions were visible at the end of the observation and record the Ringelmann number or the percent opacity. This deals with the measurements, the scales of what our staff is trained to visibly monitor and read emissions from various stacks from various emission groups. 3, excessive emissions reported. List the excessive emissions by Ringelmann number or opacity percentage and specify the contaminant. For example, dust or smoke. 4, the equipment and the source description. Identify the type of facility. Example would be like an automobile, paint shop, or coating plants. And C, completing a field sketch. A sketch or aerial map which accurately recreates the scene can strengthen the district's case in court. A field sketch is required, and there's one word here missing, so I apologize for that, for all visible emission violations. So again, the word visible is not there, but this all pertains to visible emission violations. The inspector will use the following guidelines: distance and direction from the source, into the distance and direction of the source from the inspector, the background used to make the observations, such as if there's a blue sky or a wall behind the smoke or the excess emissions, and then the location of the sun or light source. And that's important because there are specific requirements of how the lighting is with the sun. That needs to be behind the observer in order to do a valid visible emissions evaluation. Section D, completing the narrative account. The narrative account should document the findings of the inspection, which supports issuing the notice of violation. This section will contain sufficient detail to clearly explain the essential elements of the compliance status determination. The narrative account must provide a chronological sequence of events related to the incidents and investigation. The report will be written in third person. It must be clear and complete so that a person who does not have knowledge of the incident can learn from reading the account the following information: who committed the violation, which violation was committed, who observed it, who, when, and when it happened, and if known, the possible reason why it happened. There must be no inconsistencies between the information items and the narrative description of the event. If available, the NOV report should include as attachments supplemental documentation in the form of photographs, visible emission evaluations, and source test results. And that's very common for, again, for our violations here. We will often have photographs attached, will be referred to as VE, visible emission evaluation sheets, which show potential exceedances. And in some instances, the results of source tests, which may show non-compliance with permitted emissions. Finally, Section E is inspector identification, which basically requires staff to sign their name legibly for the reports. So that concludes policy 18, the overview for NOV's issuance follow-up. And again, I'd be happy to answer any questions that CSC members may have.
Thank you so much for your update, Thomas. I see that we have a question from Michael. Michael, go for it.
Yes, hi, Thomas and group. Apologize, I was a little bit fighting some IT issues earlier, but I have everything corrected. So I just was curious, Thomas, on the estimation for the assessment of penalties. Is there an established scale that you guys use as far as the initial monetary charge against the violator?
Thank you so much for that question, Michael. It's good to hear from you. So yes, we do have a policy that we have here in the Imperial County that a lot of other districts have as well for settling violations. And within our policy, we also have guidelines for frequent types of violations, such as, for example, to give you some idea, like if we find an unpermitted source in the field, an unpermitted generator, so to speak, we have guidelines for first and second and third tier violator. So there's different dollar amounts, different monetary penalties that are involved. We also have different criteria for different types of burning violations. If someone failed to get approval, or if somebody carried out a burn on a no burn day, there are also guidelines that we have in place for the monetary penalty. And there's also considerations whether the violation was done, and this echoes from the California Health and Safety Code. If they were looking at anything was done through negligence, or if it was done intentionally, so there's criteria that can be followed there as well.
I see. And that's readily available through your office if somebody would want that information.
We do have that policy. I do believe, I'm not sure if we have that on our website, but we do have that. And yes, if you have any questions on the Michael or anybody else, would be happy to provide that.
Okay, thanks a lot, Thomas. Appreciate the details.
Thanks for your question, Michael. Are there any other questions from the CSC members? I'm not seeing any hands raised. Oh, yes, Paulo.
Yep. Hi, I just wanted to, going through the procedure, I was curious to know if this procedure includes like as an attachment, forms that are kind of templates, if you will, for the report or templates for the inspection. I know this outlines the process and how you go through it, but I was wondering if when your inspectors show up on site, if they're just taking notes or if they're actually completing like a pre-filled form that they just have to fill in the blanks with these items.
Thank you for that question. So we have provided policies that deal with other aspects of investigations and inspections, and those that we have modified and revised through this exercise and brought before the committee in the past couple of years are available on our website. Those are posted as it pertains to, again, what our inspectors do and other personnel, whether it's permit engineers on startup inspections and specialists here, to determine compliance and to do inspections thoroughly and to gather all the evidence so that compliance can be verified one way or another. So that's, again, detailed in other policies. So if you have any specific questions, I think the best would be to just shoot me an email, and I can have Marco here drop my email into the chat box. So any questions, I'd be happy to have that conversation with you all. Also, in terms of a specific format, there's not a specific sheet that the inspectors use to fill out other than the visible emissions evaluation sheets that we have. But there is, again, criteria for what type of information is examined and put into the field notes and into the narrative, into the report, so that we can accurately portray what we observed and whether compliance is still being maintained by that facility, by that source.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you for your question, Paolo. Jose, I think we can take your question and then we'll see if there's questions from others. So Jose, go for it.
Okay, thank you, Mary. This report is based on method 9. Just want to make sure, is that what you're talking about, right, on this report?
Are you referring to, well, what was presented in policy 18 or policy 19?
19. Yeah. Method 9 BEE, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, yeah, just
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are other considerations depending on the source, but the overwhelming majority of the time it's going to be method 9.
Yeah, just to mention what method 9 is, each typical inspectors and other staff members from the ABCD go every 6 months to get certified for visible emissions. So that means they have to do a test. They have to pass the test in order to get certified, and they do that twice a year.
Yes, thank you for that, Belen. Yeah, so our staff just got recertified, just so you all know, in July. And so that happens, and we are very fortunate that the California Air Resources Board staff continues to make that available to not only our district, but other districts up and down the state, because we rely on that heavily. Since we are in our environments, there are, as we all know, fugitive dust concerns down here. So it's vital for our staff to have the means to be certified so that we can ensure that we do our best job to have compliance down here.
Right, thank you. We are certified too, so just in case you need something.
Thanks for your question, Jose. I see we have, so I don't see we have any other hands raised and no questions in the chat. So I think it might be a good time just to come back and revisit our meeting minutes. I know that we had tabled that because we weren't at quorum, but we're currently at quorum. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Thomas and Air District staff for sharing Thomas's email in the chat below. So feel free to reach out with any questions about the policies. With that said, I'm happy to kind of take us back to our meeting minutes. You'll see that at the beginning of your agenda packet. And with that said, these are the meeting minutes for the June 14th CSC meeting. We will begin by having CSC members vote for the approval of the meeting minutes from this meeting in June. And at this point, the chair is looking for a motion to approve the minutes.
Yeah, if any CSC member would like to unmute and call a motion, and then a second CNC member to second.
Yes, this is Michael Moore. I move for a motion for approval of the June 14th meeting minutes.
And this
So
is
motion by member one.
second.
Motion by Michael, a second by Virginia. Is there any comments or discussion from the CSC members on this motion? Not seeing any. Maddie, can you and Jessica walk us through the vote?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Christian, and thank you to those who started the motion. So those in favor of the motion, please, oh, Mary, yes, I see that your hand is raised.
Yes, I guess.
Oh,
You're gonna vote?
okay, gotcha. Thanks, Mary. Anyone else?
Paulo Alvarado approve.
Thank you, Paulo. Michael, I see your hand raised. And I see the chat. Then
Yes.
oh, thank you, Jose. Appreciate it. I just wanted to note that we see 2 yeses in our chat, one from Daniela, one from Virginia. See, and I think we've reached quorum on that. Christian, can you confirm, please?
So we had 2 voice votes and 2 in the chat. And Michael, are you voting yes for the motion?
Okay. I see Michael has indicated.
Yes, I just typed it in the chat.
Okay, thank you. Yes, that should motion pass and the minutes are approved. While you take us to the, I believe, back to the agenda, Maddie, I did want to make an announcement that we did identify the issue with the translation option. So in order to enable the live interpretation, we would have had to restart the meeting room. And as we are past 7 o'clock already, we felt it prudent to keep the meeting moving forward for the presentations and for everybody's time. But we will try to identify a way to translate maybe the meeting minutes as well to provide that interpretation in Spanish for folks that want to go back and revisit the video and look at the notes for the meeting. Right, and we've identified that issue so that other Zoom meetings moving forward don't have that same problem arise. I just want to make sure everybody is aware of that.
Thank you, Christian. Luisa, I see that your hand is raised.
I just wanted to add, if I may, that we usually provide minutes in an English and Spanish version. So if there was anyone today who was in need of interpretation services, they could read the minutes in Spanish.
Thank you so much. And yes, apologies again for our interpretation issues. We'll ensure that those Spanish meeting minutes are available as they have been. So I just appreciate, Christian, for you sharing this update. Thank you. With that said, we do have an agenda item that is for our open discussion. And so thank you, Air District, for your updates and to the CSC members for your questions. So for context on this agenda item, we have allotted time in the agenda for an open discussion where CSC members can share what they're seeing within the Calexico-Heber-El Centro corridor and open it up for a group discussion. We're hoping that these discussions can be a platform to highlight, what's coming up for you as priorities and what we can bring back as agenda items. So with that, I'm happy to open it up to our CSC members to share kind of what they're seeing in their community. Hi, Daniela, go for it.
Hi, everyone. Good evening again. I just had a question. Hopefully this is an okay time to bring it up, but I know at the last meeting we talked about the RFPs going out, and so just wanted to see if we could get and maybe this is at a later portion of the meeting, so definitely let me know. But just wanted to know if there were any updates in terms of the timeline for when the CSC would expect to make decisions about future projects, for approving any future projects.
Hi, everyone. This is Israel, APCD. How's it going, Daniela? Yeah, we received the applications, and I know last meeting we wanted to pretty much present all the applications in this meeting. However, once we started reviewing the applications that we received, we did notice that additional information was needed. So we've been working with the applicants to get that additional information. And what we're looking at right now is pretty much we're giving the applicants up to this Friday, this August 11th, to submit that information. And once we have all that information, I guess it was going to get to a point where, well, we have not received that information by August 11th, then we would probably have to decline those applications, but we will move forward with the ones that have been completed. And so we're looking into following the meeting for September, which is going to be in-person meeting, presenting the applications, and hopefully going for a vote. Either, I know it'll be probably a lot of information, so it's either going to be start presenting the information in that September meeting. I know we have to move forward with the approval of with projects. So if by any chance the committees thinks we're moving, or it's not at sufficient time, with that possibility of either adding a special meeting to just focus on those applications, that might be a possibility too. I know this August 11th, we also have the RFP for paving. It'll be closing this Friday, August 11th.
Thank you, Israel. And then could you clarify or remind me, actually, because I just forgot, what is the category or the strategy that the RFP for the projects that we'll be looking at in September?
That's for electric vehicle charging infrastructure, and also for electric bus replacements.
Okay.
A school bus replacement.
Okay.
Electric buses.
One last question about this. Do you have a sense? I know that based on the applications, we'll decide how much money gets awarded, but has the Air District set aside a specific amount of money that would be allocated for these pot of projects, or for the set of projects? What's the max in terms of total amount that will be awarded through that?
One thing that we're thinking about doing is, actually, before we actually start presenting the applications, we actually do I guess a budget update, so that we let the CSC committee know, or give them an update on what the monies that are there, and it would be up to pretty much the CSC committee to look at the projects and approve or decide on which ones they would want to move forward with. for approval.
Daniela, just to expand on that, when we first did the CERP, and the CSC voted, they voted on a minimum, not a maximum of the projects. And the reason for that is that every school is different. For instance, some schools are applying for 3 buses, some schools are applying for 1 bus, depending on their capacity and their, how big the school is as well. So we didn't really put a cap to these type of projects. That's up to the CSC at the final approval, to see how much they want to cap it to. But in reality, in the CERP itself, we did not put a cap. We put a minimum, but we didn't put a cap.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was just trying to get a sense of what the total investment amount would be for this strategy at this time. But yeah, that makes sense. Maybe the last thing I'll say, and this is to the committee members as well, is that one thing that I'll be looking at is when considering like whatever recommendations we make is that there's some equity across the different areas in the corridor. I know there's like maybe potentially certain reasons why some areas in the corridor don't apply, but even if it takes them a little longer, I would just want to make sure that each of the 3 areas in the city do get some funds for this. So I'm hoping that you received applications from all 3 areas.
Yes, and that's usually the reason why we like working with the applicant and not denying any applications just because they need a little bit more information on them. We work across the board with all the applicants, not just with one, and we try to make it fair in that sense.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Daniela. And just to confirm that I heard this, is that RFP discussion going to be a September agenda item?
Maddie, Israel, yes, I mean, that's going to be a September item. So I think just doing a time check, I mean, I think we should just go ahead and move forward.
Definitely. Thanks, Israel. So yes, we will move forward, but I do want to encourage CSC members to also utilize the chat for any other questions or items that you'd like to bring forth, and we'll document those as well. So with that said, I'm happy to pass it to the Air District for agency updates.
Yeah, at this time, the updates are that we are working with the applications that we did receive, as Israel mentioned. The next one closes August 11th, and we encourage CSC members to spread the word. That way we get a fair share of applications across the board, as Daniela mentioned. We do rely a lot on our CSC members to, like I mentioned, spread the word. There's the reason that we have members in each sector. That way they know what type of projects are needed in their jurisdiction, and also for them to provide us with the type of projects they want to see. We're not only doing urban projects or paving projects or air filtration projects, but if you see any type of projects in your area that need help and need work, let us know. It could be lighted synchronization. It could be anything that you see in your district that needs help. And we could work with you to make it available in order to be part of the CSC projects as well. We don't have to limit to the ones we have right now. It's whatever you see out there that needs help, that needs an advancement, that needs an improvement, let us know.
Thanks, Belen, for that update. Are there any other agency updates?
From the CCVM, I just want to give folks here on the steering committee a gentle reminder that UC Davis evaluation team for 617 is still looking for responses from our community. We were asked to give this reminder to the CSC members here because we have a very low response rate. We will be emailing that out again. Hopefully folks can answer that survey. It's in English and in Spanish, so it should be accessible. And for the resident members of the CSC, so notwithstanding CCD and APCD, you also get entered into the raffle that the university is doing. So there's an opportunity for a little reward for completing the survey, and they are looking for opinions on the program implementation. And I believe your input would be helpful for those members that have been here since the beginning, and for those that are new, to kind of give your thoughts back to this evaluation process. And I'd also like to extend an invitation for some upcoming events. Tomorrow night, CCD will be hosting a Lithium Valley workshop. This is from the community engagement project we are doing with Imperial County. That will be in Bombay Beach, so it's outside of the corridor, but it's still very useful if you want to attend and just give us your questions, comments, and have a discussion about the Lithium Valley ongoings. And there will also be some upcoming economic workshops for a new program that is being implemented in both San Diego and Imperial counties called CERF, CERF, Community Economic Resiliency Fund. There are some community-based organizations that are helping coordinate for Imperial County, and we will be hosting workshops starting on the 17th, every Thursday for the rest of the month. So the 17th, the 24th, and the 31st. They will be at different times throughout the day so that folks have an opportunity to attend, and in different cities across Imperial County. So there are at least one in Calexico and one in Heber already planned. So that's within the corridor for members interested.
Thank you for those updates, Christian. Alrighty, just given that we're a little over time, I'm happy to move us along. So as you all may recall, in the June CSC meeting, we voted on a schedule of CSC meetings and formats. So with that said, we're happy to share. Oh, thanks, Christian. Survey links are in the chat for in English and Spanish for your accessibility. So that said, we have our September CSC meeting scheduled for September 13th, and this will be in person. I don't know, Air District or Christian, if you all had more to share on that, but just wanted to confirm September 13th in person.
That's correct. That's September 13th. And we're looking to have it at Heber.
Thank you, Israel. So to clarify, at the Heber Community Center?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Alrighty. And so at this point, we have reached the final item on the agenda, and we're ready for closing remarks. And so with that, are there any members of the CSC that would like to share any closing remarks this evening?
While we wait for that, Maddie, also, if CARB has any updates.
I don't see anybody unmuting or any updates coming through the chat. But Carb, if there's anything that you'd like to share, please feel free to do so.
Hi, this is Avia Sornio with CARB MLD. I don't have any updates.
Great, thank you so much, Ivy. All right, and I'm happy to bring us back to any closing remarks from the CSC members. I saw in the chat that there was no comments from one of our CSC members, but just wanted to ask one more time in case there were any. Okay, and with that, I'm also happy to pass it off to our co-chairs for closing remarks as well.
Keep it short. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll be looking for one final motion to close out the meeting. And yeah, just again, gentle reminder, please complete the survey. It is very helpful to the university when they present this to the CARB board to make improvements to the 617 program. And as you know, we have a second community that's starting up in Imperial County, and those changes are coming. So we want to make sure that we inform a lot of those things when they come up.
Thank you so
Hi.
much. Mhm.
Thanks, Patty. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here with us today. I know we've had in person, we've had hybrid, we've had, just like today, technical issues are going to arise, and I apologize for that once again. And I thank you for being with us. We are intending to have the AB 617 meetings at different cities. However, this next one will be at Heber, and we're looking into locations in Calexico. If any CSC members in Calexico have ideas and what venues we could use, please let us know. We already have one reserved in November at Southwest, so it will be in El Centro. So we are looking into other venues that we could utilize at this time. Heber is open for the next meeting. And again, CSC members, please help us with Calexico. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Yes, thank you all. And do we need a motion to adjourn the meeting this evening?
I move to adjourn.
Second, from Daniela.
Motion by Paulo, second by Daniela. Are there any comments from the CSC members on the motion? Not seeing any. If folks want to use the chat box or unmute and cast your vote. Mary, your hand is raised.
Yes.
Okay. So that's 4. I believe that carries us over since we have 7 CSC members. Correct?
Yep.
Yeah, thanks, Daniela. So motion passes. Meeting is adjourned. We'll see everybody in Heber next month. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe and have a good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all. Good night.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.